Morning. Well, I don't know if you can see it, but it's a rare thing these days. We got blue sky. It's cold out, that hasn't changed, but I'll take a little sun and a blue sky pretty much any day of the week. But I guess on the downside, today may be somewhat of a sad day. It's not the end of the world, but a sad day nonetheless. One of my all-time favorite things are big trees, and a big tree today has to come down. And today's a pretty good example of why. Right behind it, well, let's turn the camera around. Right behind me here, right in there, that's where our solar kiln's going. And guess what? Without any sun, there's no point of a solar kiln. That big tree right there blocks, well, pretty much all the sun till about noon. So, unfortunately, it's coming down. Brenda has not let me do this for a while. She's been putting it off, but we can put it off no longer because we got a pile of lumber and the kiln's next thing on the list. So, first things first, I need a bigger bar on the chainsaw. This tree is beyond the capacity of the one I've got. So, swap out the bar, get geared up, and work on a big tree. All right, this behind me here is a big old Douglas fir. Enormous. It's probably been standing there for, I don't know, 75 years. We're gonna find out pretty soon, but it's been there a long time and I'm sad to take this one down. Brenda's even more sad. But it's gotta happen. It's gonna make us a lot of lumber and it's gonna give us a bunch more sun for our solar kiln, which is the whole point of a solar kiln. You gotta have sun to power it. But this tree has got a bit of a crook, a bit of a lean, but the lean is actually pointed right towards our shed. So we're gonna compensate for that a little bit with the notch and point it away from the shed. Obviously, we don't wanna drop it on that thing. So gonna get started and hope for the best, really. I don't wanna smash the shed. Really is leaning right towards the shed, so we're gonna shoot for this open path over here and see how good my aim is. So, got a pretty good clean face here. And it's pointed in the right direction. Timber. Perfect shot! We still have a shed. Oh, it's a miracle. Well, all in all, I'd say that was a pretty good cut. Got pretty nice hinge wood here. About a third of the tree, or the third of the trunk. And it landed where it's supposed to. Can't complain. But now we have a ton of cleanup. The sad thing, other than taking this thing down, when I was clearing the brush around this tree, there's an old logging cable buried in the brush. So I hit it with the chain. The chain is pretty dull now. Just nicked it, but that was enough to really, well, do some damage. So gonna need to sharpen that thing, even though it's brand new. All right, now we're limbing this thing, cutting it up into logs. We're not gonna mill this thing, I think, all that quickly, because we're gonna build the solar kiln first, but at least this is out of the way. And we're not gonna drop it on a kiln when it's there. Yeah, all right, productive morning so far. Still a bunch to do. Well, I just stopped for a quick cup of coffee or a refill, and I think we just got a quick change of plans. We just got a call from the county building department saying we need an erosion control plan to add to our permit, since we're planning on building within 300 feet of a slope greater than 15%. So that's not something we can take care of here. We're going to pack up the van, head to town so we can get some internet access and try to keep the permit process rolling. So we're going to come back to this tree tomorrow. Well, hopefully, weather permitting. We're supposed to get a few inches of snow tonight and some freezing rain on top of that. We'll see. If the weather cooperates, we'll deal with this tree tomorrow. But if not, don't you worry. We got lots of other stuff to do. Our tractor needs a bit of love. Maybe we'll take care of that. That can happen anytime. So yeah, we're going to get out of here, pack up the van, head to town, and we'll talk to you tomorrow. Good morning. Well, today is tractor day. Well, or a little tractor love day. This is an old John Deere 310A, 1982, almost as old as me. It has surprisingly served us pretty well so far. We really couldn't do most of the stuff we've been doing out here without this. But this thing is old. And old stuff just sort of needs some love now and then. Need one more wrench. I'll be back. Okay, back. Needed a 9/16. So, this old tractor, 1982, old as dirt almost, but it runs like a champ as long as we keep up with it. Every day it's something. Today, it's an alternator, and actually, it's a voltage regulator, but to replace the voltage regulator on this old alternator, it's almost the same price as a brand new alternator, complete with a new regulator. So, $10 more, it's getting a whole new deal. But other than that, this thing seems to leak a lot, so we're constantly chasing leaks. But it's pretty fun to drive, really. It's kind of like an old classic car or an old Harley Davidson. It's just got this nostalgic feel. Kind of reminds me of when I was a kid at my grandpa's place. He had old tractors with lever action and all that kind of stuff. Pretty fun, really. And it's, well, compared to new stuff, it's not all that powerful. But it's got plenty of power for what we need to do here. It's really been one of the best things we've bought since we purchased the place. We just really couldn't do all this stuff without it. So, a little love today. and hopefully we'll keep her in happy shape. So we're gonna swap out the alternator, grease up all the fittings and pins, and do a little tightening here and there, and get her back on the track. I don't know if you can hear that. Even if the voltage regulator was not out, I think this alternator's about done anyways. It's a little grindy in there. But, out with the old, in with the new. Look at that, smooth as silk. But I've actually had quite a few people ask, well, specifics about this tractor, why we bought it instead of something newer with four-wheel drive. There's a lot of reasons for that. One, this was in our price range. It was local and they delivered it for no charge. But more than anything, it's because it's old and basic and I can fix it. And you can still get every single part on this thing. There's a John Deere dealer only, well, half an hour away from here, but anything we want on this tractor is still made and in existence. So this alternator wasn't in stock, but it only took 2 days to get. And if there's anything that living on a boat for 25 years has taught me, it's how to live with a diesel engine. So that's basically what this big old tractor is. It's a diesel engine on wheels with some hydraulics and some levers. And it's pretty fun to drive. All right, going back in. Go in your home. Done. Well, it is time. Weather has kept me off of this big old tree for the last few days. We've had rain, snow, freezing rain, more snow, hail, and a bunch of rain last night. So it's time to get this thing cleaned up so we can start on the solar kiln, because that's next. This is really going to take all day. It's big, and I know the camera doesn't pick it up or even show how big it is. Trust me, it's big. All right, getting to work. This is a big tree. I still got another 40 feet to go. "87 years old this thing is." Makes me even more sad now that it's down. 87! Whoop! Gotta watch your step. But yeah, that's an old tree. You don't really see those old trees on private land anymore that's been logged in the last handful of decades. Yeah, pretty sad to see it down. Right there, that's where the kiln's going. Didn't have a whole lot of choice in the matter. Well, I guess we did. We could have put the kiln somewhere else, but this just made the most sense for now. Well, normally if we got a tree, we try to kind of drag it in one big, or as long a log as we can handle. It just makes it easier moving things around. But this log, oh, we don't have to move it very far. It's just going right there. And because it's not going very far, I'm actually cutting it into millable sized logs now, and I'm doing it with intent. This tree, it's kind of hard to tell now, but it had a whole lot of crooks and bends and really funky shapes. So I'm cutting these logs around the crooks and around the bends just so we can get as much yield out of it as possible with the lumber we need for our house. So as I'm cutting these into logs, just writing what the designation is on the log so there's no real confusion when we put it up on the mill, because these are cut with intent. It's really a big tree. Well, we got ourselves some logs to mill. That's pretty exciting. Really, well, I know the camera just doesn't pick up the scale, but this one down here, it's enormous. I'm pretty excited for that one. It's well, on the butt end of it, where the stump was, it's 32 inches in diameter. Our sawmill capacity is 30, so we're gonna have to get a little creative with that one. But I'm just kind of excited to see what's in it. It's gonna make a lot of lumber, that's for sure. But on a side note, next up is our solar kiln. We're gonna hopefully start that tomorrow, weather permitting. We're supposed to have just a little break in the weather, so stick around for the solar kiln. Hopefully that'll progress quickly, because our building plans appear to be really close to being approved. So we did turn in our erosion control plan just a couple of days ago, and apparently that worked out pretty well, because they said we have made it through all the preliminary stuff, and within the next week our final building permit should be approved. So within a week we should be cleared to build a house, which seems sort of surreal, really, and kind of exciting. So the solar kiln needs to get done quickly so we can start stockpiling lumber in there so we can start building a house. All weather dependent. All right, exciting stuff coming up. Stick around. We'll talk to you soon. See ya.